to get Ms. Mangum ready for the hearing that was set in January.
The hearing that was set in January?
February, excuse me.
One of the problems that we were dealing with at the time of the December the 15th hearing is that Ms. Mangum was pregnant and was having a very high-risk pregnancy. She actually, before she delivered a child, I think was admitted to the hospital on 3 different occasions and then released. So during this period of time, we were dealing with these issues, and we weren't sure. At one time, they were thinking they might have to induce labor or to take the child by a C-section or something. We didn't know what we'd be working with there, and it was kind of hard to schedule anything at that time. But I had asked Linwood Wilson, in preparation for trial, to interview Ms. Mangum, and it's been stated on, throughout this case that she told many different versions of what went on, and certainly there were.
Did you say preparation for trial?
Just say, well, it's for the hearing, but also for the trial. I mean, that if we, obviously anything that we do is for all the proceedings down the road. Nobody had ever talked with her to find from our office to find out what her version of the facts was directly to us. We had never dealt with that. One thing
version of the facts directed to us?
To the district attorney's office. What I mean is this: what happens often in sexual assault cases is that obviously when you're dealing with somebody who has just been the victim of sexual assault, then they're most likely not going to be in the best state for making coherent, factually consistent statements. And so it is not at all uncommon for there to be variations between the initial statement that somebody makes and subsequent statements. And they don't usually have to do with somebody changing the story so much as they have to do with the person to whom the story is being told not understanding what was being said or not successfully writing down what was being conveyed, so that your initial baseline story may not be exactly what was told by the victim to the officer. This is particularly a problem in a case if the officer doesn't realize he's dealing with this kind of situation to begin with.
Did you have reason to suspect that the previous version she had given had been inaccurately transcribed?
Yes, sir, for several reasons. An example would be there was a version from one of the Duke officers who overheard a Durham officer talking on a radio and said something about, heard the officer having said that she was raped by 20 men at a party. Now, my suspicion is that what was actually said was something like she was raped at a party where there were 20 men. But when you have people overhearing things and reporting on what they overheard, it's not at all hard to get away from what was actually said. And so much of what passes for, in many of these cases, for inconsistent statements or inconsistent recordings of what's being said or misunderstandings of what's being said. And then, of course, after that has been mistranscribed, anytime you ask somebody about that after that, you said that 20 men assaulted you. Oh, no, I never said that. Well, that may be true. But then now you've got, oh, she's saying something different now. So you always have something along those lines to be dealing with. So one thing that I asked Mr. Wilson to do was to sit down with her and, have basically the statements that she had been alleged to have made, and to talk with her about those and to see what her statement was at this time regarding what had occurred.